Welcome to Shameless. Here we explore the transformative power of courage and action.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed our conversations and you want to have more insightful discussions and hear from other incredible guests, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us to grow and continue bringing this amazing content. Thanks for joining in and enjoy today's episode of Shameless Podcast. Hi, my name is Dzikamai and I'm your host for the Shameless Podcast. Right now, I've got Bonolo Zwane on the call, and we're talking about navigating the intersection of creativity, technical expertise in business. And obviously on Shameless, what we are about is about having conversations, actually more than just conversation. We're looking to talk about things that catalyze transformational leadership, sustainable change, and essentially a testament to the Ubuntu principle. I am because we are. Now, Bonolo, I am absolutely curious to understand, as a leader, how do you manage your teams, your people, the people that you work with, not only from the creative side, but from the highly technical side? How do you balance both of those worlds to then get the most out of individuals?
I think that teams need to actually see lived examples or lived experiences of each side working. So whether it's the creative or the technical working. So I think the best strategy is for them to see the value that can be derived from each, because you can really try to explain it through other businesses' lived examples, etc. But sometimes within organizations, there will be a certain hierarchy or perceived hierarchy of roles and responsibilities, and typically the more technical roles tend to sort of sit on the top levels of that hierarchy, and the creative roles are sort of relegated to, let's say, more luxury type of things in the business, or not really core to the business. So I think the way that we certainly try to do it at NJ, we're a very small team, so it's easier to do in our business, is that people showcase the value of what they do to get the benefits in the business, and then you encourage each individual to lead with that strength. And I think there's been a lot of debate about that in sort of modern business management. Do you encourage people to lead with their natural strengths, or do you encourage people to work on what they're not necessarily strong at? It's been a big debate, but I think what's worked in our business is let people lead with their strength while having an appreciation of the strength of others, and also learning when and how to incorporate others into, what they do.
So in the end of what I hear is like being as collaborative as possible, and sometimes that is leading and sometimes that's following, but at least if you understand your strengths, you can at least leverage the right tool.
That's much better articulated. Very
no, look, I had time as you were talking to actually get the point through. But yes. So I, as highlighted earlier, I'm an engineer, right? And that's a relatively technical thing in terms of the way my brain processes. It's quite logical, and at times I might actually not. I might struggle in certain creative tasks. And I'll give an example, and it's a relatively easy example. We were doing a bunch of presentations, presenting the 5-year plan for some engineering stuff. And at the end of the day, I put the presentation together, and there were a whole lot of numbers, a whole lot of tables, and a few graphs. And I looked at it and I was like, man, have I not knocked this out of the park? And then we went over to somebody else who was not necessarily, who was more in the business improvement side, a lot more creative in nature. And this person then comes forward and they say, this is horrible. The colors that you've used are completely clashing. And you've got nothing that you've done here. They then go away, come back 2 days later. And they've redone the whole 10-page presentation, and they said, and I look at it and I go, this is nothing I could not recognize the presentation. But it had all the content that I had in there. And more so than that, it was communicating everything that I wanted to communicate. And what I typically find is that people tend to forget that creativity or some of the creative aspects actually help communicate a message.
Exactly.
And
a language,
essentially. And so for me, I'm very curious to understand. You express your ideas in your clothing, but have you ever found any difficulty in being too technical that you fail to express your creativity?
To be honest, no. I never have, because I've always enjoyed, both sides of that spectrum. Mm-hmm. And I just struggled maybe in my corporate life to find a home for that, a home for that integration.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share as we embark on our mission to impact 1 million African lives by 2026.
This podcast is brought to you by Transformation Leader. You can follow us at www.t4leader.com.